Isn't it strange sometimes that you can get almost exactly contradictory advice? When you listen to enough advice out there from successful people, you will run into situations where you will get almost the exact opposite type of information from experts or gurus. This happens in almost every field. It happens all the time in dating, and it happens in a lot of other areas as well. So I want to share with you a few ways you can solve this stuff. And we'll start off with a concrete example. So you won't believe how many times people have said stuff like, I wish I had said yes to more opportunities. Or if I could do it all over again, I would have said yes to more stuff. Now, the crazy thing is there's almost exactly opposite advice out there where they literally say no to more stuff. You have to have the ability to say no. So how do you differentiate these two? And trust me, these are some very successful people who have said this stuff. We have Tony Horton from P90X. He is the creator of the best-selling workout P90X, and that's one of the most profitable information infomercial products of all time. And he wrote a book about like all his advice on succeeding, and his story is just incredible. He didn't start off successful at all, but the point is he has said, if I could do it all over again, I would have said yes to more things and gone to more opportunities. So how do you differentiate that? Well, there's a lot of things I think you should consider, but there's two main ones I think you should focus on. The first one is to, first off, not take in too much information. There's this general rule of thumb ratio I think you should follow. For every maybe hour of information that you take in, spend at least 3 hours implementing on that information. And I am a huge culprit of not following this, which leads to constant information overload and pretty much me not getting anywhere. So it's very, very frustrating. And from experience, I've struggled with it. So my recommendation for you is not to do what I did and actually take action on the information you learn. If you learn 1 hour of business advice or dating advice or whatever, spend the full day, maybe the full week, using that information and implementing it. I would say it's better to just find one piece of very valuable information from a reputable, successful individual and then implement on that. And it's important to choose someone who you can trust and who's actually successful, and not just like some random guy who says like you should follow this. But unfortunately, a lot of people don't tend to do that for some reason. Now, the second thing, and I think this is probably just as important, if not more important, is differentiating how you figure out what to do when there's contradictory information, and it's important. One is to just ask these people and clarify, but if you can't, you have to really figure out the specifics about what they're talking about, because sometimes it's not exactly contradictory. I find that a lot of people, they misinterpret completely the advice from successful individuals because a lot of advice is easily misinterpretable. And it's a bit of a tragedy when I see this, but it happens. So for instance, you have this thing that says, I wish I would have said yes to more opportunities. Well, if you dig deeper, you realize that when people say this, they're more so talking about business opportunities, career opportunities, and network opportunities. So for those specific things, you want to say yes to more of those things because you get to go to these things, you open yourself up to serendipity, you get more opportunities that you wouldn't have even expected, and so forth. However, you have this other category of people saying you shouldn't do, you should say no to more things. Now, if you dig a little deeper with this category, you find that they're actually talking about time management and prioritization. So what that basically means is when you are inundated or you're flooded with a lot of tasks and you're overwhelmed, that is when you have to have the courage to say no to a lot of things, a ton of things. In fact, 90% of the things you can say no to. And people have a problem with saying no to anything, and that's where that piece of advice comes from. So when you really look at it and you dig deeper, you realize it's not really contradictory. So I can use both of these elements in my own life in this specific way. Let me give you a concrete example. So I would say no to a lot of things that I could engage in that are meaningless or very marginal in terms of my long-term goals. So let's say you can go to another meeting. That's productive, but not really. It's marginally going to increase your, how much money you make or whatever else. In the long run, in fact, a lot of people say meetings are very pointless and unproductive. So a lot of low tier activities you can say no to. Someone keeps suggesting a new social media platform to jump on, and everyone's running off with their heads chopped off like chickens to jump onto that next social media platform because it's the next hot thing when there's already like 10 out there. Guess what? That's another thing to easily say no to. And trust me, this is something that I really believe in, because for many years I was the other route. I was that guy with his head chopped off trying to follow all this stuff, getting overwhelmed, being pulled in all these directions and struggling and not getting any real results. So I will say no to those things. Now, for the things I say yes to, those are new opportunities, exciting things, things I've not experienced before. If I've gone to maybe 4 networking opportunities and I see no results from that, and I see it's a lot of just wasted time, maybe I'll say no to those things. But maybe there's something new out there in terms of not social media apps, but in terms of something that could open me up to a variety of unknowns that I'm not not even expecting. So for instance, let's say, this is just a random impossibility, but let's just say it occurred. I got invited for the first time to some event that had a lot of high-level celebrities there. I may consider going. Again, I would still have to think about it, but I may consider going because it would expose me to all sorts of new people, new networking opportunities that I cannot even predict. Now, that's different from a social media app or that sort of stuff, because that stuff, it's just like 50 different things out there, and there's really no results when you go around chasing all those things. So long story short, say yes to opportunities, but say no to meaningless, unimportant, non-productive tasks. And one of the best ways of doing that is seeing if this is something that can possibly lead to great results in terms of the amount of effort you put in and the return you're getting based off how much time and energy you invest. And if you measure everything based off these big goals, then a lot of things wash out. A lot of people spend 90% of their time on tasks that aren't going to make them money. You see these business owners and CEOs, they're checking email, they're going to their 5th meeting, they're talking to their secretary, they're like organizing their calendar. They have 5 different screens going, and one of them is like CNN News. And guess what? 90% of that stuff can be cut out completely, and it's not going to do anything but benefit you, because it's all just a waste of time. It doesn't actually help you in terms of anything, in terms of making money, the progress of your business or whatever. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in my next video.